In an empty mansion, in a deserted place, this girl just took a bite of an apple. Outside the window suddenly appeared a man holding a shotgun staring at her. Then there was a fat man and came over. Girl calling her boyfriend goes to the front. He actually opened the door and intentionally left the villa to let these two in. When the girl was changing, the middle-aged man was the first to burst into the girl's room. Her sixth sense told her that this man was not a nice person. The man sat down on the bed with the girl, took out his business card and said her boyfriend had to go out for 5 minutes before coming back. The girl stood up. The man began to move his arms and legs. The girl wanted to run away, but he pressed his hand against the wall. At the same time, the fat guy came over and just stood there eating and staring at the two of them. This guy said if he wanted to come in too or else get out of the room. The girl looked at the fat guy with pleading eyes, but it didn't work. The fat guy still casually ate the chocolate, then closed the door and left the girl shed tears. The fat guy walked out of the room and inside there was a cry for help. He hurriedly turned on the TV and turned the volume up to the highest level, then turned his head towards the room and then went the other direction. It is very clear that his heart is fighting, taking off his clothes and jumping into the pool. 10 minutes later, Jennifer's boyfriend is back. Richard saw the appearance of two good brothers and found it a bit strange. The middle-aged man came forward to tell Richard you wouldn't notice, right? Richard strode over to the room and saw Jennifer crying on the bed. He quickly turned around and ran out of the room. Sleep and wake up. Jennifer saw Richard again. He said it's okay just now, it was just a dream. What you went through I will use money to make up for you. Jennifer also understood. The man in front of her was an asshole. They started arguing. Richard slapped Jennifer and made her fall to the ground. Tell her that my brothers are the most important. At the same time, these two guys saw Jennifer running, Richard chasing behind. The two men were stunned for a few seconds, then suddenly stood up and chased after them. Jennifer runs on the rocky ground with her bare feet. As for the three men, they risked their lives to send them behind and run to the edge of the cliff. Jennifer stopped. The other three also chased to the place still panting. Richard opened his mouth and told Jennifer not to jump off. He then took out his phone and called the helicopter, and made an appointment to pick Jennifer up in 4 hours. After hanging up, Richard approached Jennifer little by little. This girl wants to jump off the cliff and this guy is trying to convince her. After Jennifer stood still, Richard turned around and took a deep breath. The girl was pierced by a tree branch. These three guys stood at the top looking at her, sure that the girl was out of breath. This action of Richard made the bearded man next to him scared. How dare Richard kill people? Not long after these three men walked, a drop of the girl's blood fell to the ground, hitting the ant. 2 drops, 3 drops, then 5, 6, 7 drops of blood directly kill the ant. More and more ants are crawling on the girl's body. Suddenly the girl woke up and looked around for a while. She wanted to open her mouth to call for help, but the blood had already spilled into her nose. Reaching out little by little to the headset, she wanted to move forward a little, even if only a little. Jennifer now can no longer feel the pain. She took a lighter, took some hay, approached the tree and lit it. The fire burned the tree and then went up. Jennifer is about to be baked. The branch was split, and Jennifer fell down in an instant. At the same time, these three once again reached the edge of the cliff. It's clear they've come to destroy the body. Jennifer heard the sound of the engine. Little by little she got up using all her strength and accompanied by cries of pain. She's trying hard. The fat guy drank the water and threw it away, almost hitting Jennifer, making her even more desperate to crawl forward. These three guys went to the edge of the cliff and there was no sign of Jennifer, leaving only the burning branches. They can't understand it. They've been like this and still don't die. Richard said that maybe Jennifer's health was really good, so they decided to go down and have a look. Jennifer heard the sound of cars in the distance and knew they were going down here. At night, after they reached the place where they saw the mark on the ground, the fat guy picked up the phone and Richard discovered the blood on the wall. Guessing that Jennifer had escaped, immediately followed the bloodstain on the road. These guys started to chase and went quite far. Makes people wonder that Jennifer's blood volume is so much new. These guys went to a river and Jennifer's blood was gone, so they split up to find it. A few minutes later, Jennifer emerged from the water little by little, crawling ashore, raised her head, and saw the fat man again. She had a hard time finding a rock and could hide behind. Jennifer saw the shotgun, then picked it up and angrily aimed it at the fat man's face. Jennifer's eyes turned cold and accidentally fired the trigger, but there was no bullet inside. The fat guy snatched the gun and pushed Jennifer to the ground and scolded her, took out his walkie-talkie and told the other two that he had found the girl. This bearded guy is finally at peace. He clapped his hands to congratulate him, picked up the music player to listen, and just like that began to enjoy sitting in the car. The fat guy, now tormenting Jennifer, grabbed her head and submerged it in the water, then lifted it up and then pressed it down again and lifted it up. The knife on the fat guy's body was taken by Jennifer. While being tormented, Jennifer was lifted up again. She turned her head and picked up the knife and stabbed the fat man in the eye. The bearded guy over here is still wandering, and Jennifer drove another car away from the crime scene, went to a cave, took out the equipment of the fat man and started healing. The late girl's stomach was pierced by a tree branch. She took out a can of beer to drink and a large amount of beer came out of her belly fat, but she didn't feel any pain. Looking at the wound, the girl lifted her shirt little by little. In the confusion, she suddenly remembered a medicine that her boyfriend gave her yesterday. She opened the pendant and took out a leather bag that was 2 black objects that looked like insects. She immediately swallowed it. But because it was too bitter, she vomited. But in order to survive, because to relieve the pain, the girl ignored the mud and picked it up. So her eyes turned cold, she chewed and swallowed it again. 3 minutes later, the hallucinations began to appear in her head that she was no longer in pain. This medicine will make people not even feel the pain of having their legs amputated. The girl's spirit is getting more and more hazy. She touched her foot, took the empty can and poured all the beer in it, picked up the knife and cut the beer can directly, then put the beer can over the fire. She pulled out the branch on her stomach, unable to feel any pain. She picked up the steamed beer can and put it on her own wound. In an instant, white smoke rose everywhere. Due to excessive blood loss, the girl just fainted. When she woke up again, it was noon the next day. Richard ran to the car and called the bearded man up. When he washed his face, he discovered the fat man's body. The bearded man, who was scared to death in his panic, fell straight into the water. These two were about to split up to find each other, but an angry Richard suddenly turned around to give the bearded man a punch like he was pushing Jennifer down a cliff. Jennifer suddenly woke up. The wound has also healed, and the label of the beer can be seen on it, and she is also preparing for revenge. Jennifer picked up the shotgun when Richard suddenly appeared, at the same time, shooting at her. Jennifer woke up from a dream, slowly getting up and picking up the shotgun. Richard reappeared. The bearded name also appears here. Jennifer was scared to the point of madness and ran out. She even encountered herself on the way. Waking up again. Everything is still normal. Jennifer got up to go out. She was holding binoculars and suddenly noticed a flash of light. It's the bearded guy looking in the mirror. She spotted him. Jennifer frantically chased a distance, directly chasing the moving car. She aimed at the bearded man who was pumping gas into the car. A shot was fired, but it still didn't kill him. Due to the force of the shot being too strong, it was placed directly, causing Jennifer to fall to the ground. After standing up again, the bearded man was nowhere to be seen. Jennifer approached the car. Looking at the bloodstains on the ground, she followed this blood trail to find the blood that suddenly disappeared on the ground. There was only one shoe. Jennifer didn't know that the bearded man was in a high place. Compress the pain and pick up the shotgun but can't aim. Reload and pull the trigger. The bullet passed her ear. Jennifer got up and ran away. Jennifer broke her phone. When the bearded man walked past or stepped on it, the shard directly pierced his leg. He got into the car and started to step on the gas to drive in the direction Jennifer was running. Jennifer has been waiting for this moment for a long time. One shot twice. Bullets were fired consecutively but didn't hit him a single shot. But one last shot went directly through this guy's head. The car stops automatically. Jennifer just drove the car away from here. At the same time, Richard had reached the mansion and was able to communicate with the helicopter. Just when I was about to leave here, Jennifer appeared. One shot finished. A beautiful and gentle girl was forced by these men to take the path of revenge. This story tells us not to bully others or the consequences will be very serious. Thank you for watching. See you in the next movies.